Kia ora, good morning. So, I've made my offerings to the birds because obviously they're very important. I've been in such a hurry to make this video, I haven't even lit my incense or oils yet because I don't want to forget the dream I had. Well, it was actually two dreams, technically three, but one I had in the very early hours of the morning that I was going to record when I had it, but I was just so tired. I made myself remember it. And then the second dream I had was kind of part two of the first, which was weird. It's like I jumped straight back into the dream, but from further down the line. And then the third dream I had was just weird, but since I've woken up and checked X, I get it now. It all came together. I kind of wish I'd recorded this before I check X, but everything happens for a reason. But see, this is why I make offerings to the birds, eh? I feed the crows. That's why Odin likes me. Because, you know, with Trump and Musk and that, it's all about the symbols and Greek gods and pagan gods and all of that. So, yeah, I make offerings to the birds because to Indigenous people, they're either God or the voice of God, depending on the kind of bird that it is. So I'm just having my coffee because I need it badly. So the first dream I had, I dreamt I was in this high-rise building that was a bank. And I was really happy because I knew I had hundreds of millions in the bank. The bank had called me to say, the money's in, come down and have a look. So I went down to this bank and went up the stairs to this bank, and they were showing me that I had like a couple of 100 million in the bank, and I was really proud of myself. And they were saying, so what are you going to do with it? And I said, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. And they were like clapping and cheering. They offered me champagne, but I hate champagne. Like I can't stand the taste of it. So I was like, no, I'm going to go now. And so this woman was like, well, I'll walk you out because I'm going too. And when we were walking out, I was seeing on the side of the bank's window like all these houses for sale. And she said to me, do you see anything you like? And I said, no, I already know what I'm doing with my money. I've already got my place. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing with it as I'm going down the stairs. And when I came down the stairs, there was this little girl holding this fat Asian baby, like Korean or I don't know, but it was chonky. It was a toddler. It was almost as big as the little girl. The little girl looked like she was about 5, and she was carrying this baby that could have absolutely walked on her own and on its own. And the little girl was also, she had the baby under one arm and all these papers under the other, and she had been waiting for me. And hang on, sip. And for some reason we were lost, but it didn't make any sense because it was my city. I knew the city, and I dream about this city a lot, and it's like a cross between Palmerston North, where I grew up, and Edinburgh, where my ex is from. I love Edinburgh. It's my favourite city. Of all the cities that I've visited, Edinburgh is my favourite. And I knew where we were, and we needed to get to like, I knew that where we were going was only like 1 or 2 streets down, but for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how to get there. Like I couldn't find the street or the little alleyway that I needed to go down to get to where we were going. So we decided to look it up on her phone for, like Google Maps, and it pointed the line, and I was like, yeah, see, I knew we only had to go down here and blah, blah, blah. So I started walking across the street and I turned around and the little girl was dropping papers and this kid, this little fat Asian toddler who was as cute as anything, was like holding her back. And I said to her, "You got to put the kid down." And she was like, "Well, it's just a baby." And I said, "No, you got to put the kid down." I said, "Because it's holding you back." I said, "This kid can walk on its own. You don't need to carry it. Make it walk. We're only going one street over." And when she put the kid down, I realised that the little girl was me. It's like this kid and everything she was holding in her arms. Once she put it all down, it was me when I was like 5. And then I woke up. And then when I was laying there, when I woke up thinking, should I record this dream? Should I do it now? But I thought, just remember it and do it in the morning because I was just so tired. I knew that if I hit record on my phone, it was going to wake me up and then I'd be awake for a couple of hours. And, so I made myself remember it. And then I went back to sleep. Hang on, sit. And then the second dream I had, I was staying in this really nice hotel. It wasn't 5-star, but it was above like your Premier Inns, and I love the Premier Inn. I think even if I was rich, I'd still stay at the Premier Inn. I love the Premier Inn. But it was quite nice. It was kind of like the one I stayed in when I stayed in Salem. I just can't remember the name of it. Something House. When they knew I was coming, they put up a New Zealand flag anyway, I know that. So, Horton House? Something House. Anyway, it was kind of that sort of grade hotel, but it was big, like, a Hilton kind of size. And we were staying there for a few days and we had this puppy with us. I say us because my first husband was with me. He had his own room and I had my room, and we had this puppy that shouldn't have been at the hotel, but we only had a couple of days left to go, and we were trying to hide the fact that we had this puppy in the hotel. We'd snuck it in. But the weird thing is it's like the puppy knew that it needed to keep quiet because this puppy made no sound. It ate its food. It didn't even do a poop or anything. Like, I remember thinking, like, how does the dog know not to do a poop? Or, like, this puppy knew that we needed to lay low and stay quiet. It just instinctively knew we can't, if we get caught, we're going to get kicked out. And then when it was time to go, I put the puppy in the bag, in my bag. The puppy knew just to lay down and let me carry it out. And then when we got out of the hotel, I took it to my house where my boys were and some other people I didn't know. It was kind of like they were house sitting while I was away. And I gave them the puppy to look after. I said, "Here's the puppy. Now I've got to go." And then I maybe it was part of the same dream. It felt like it was a separate dream. But I said, "I've got to go." And then I thought I woke up. Maybe I only woke up for a brief second because then I went back to sleep and I was in this bar. And Hillary Clinton was there and Keir Starmer was there and Donald Trump was there. And then there were all these other people. And there were these little girls on the karaoke, and I got really worried. I was like, I messaged the boys and I said, is the puppy okay? Can you show me the puppy's okay? I needed to see if the puppy was okay. And they said, yeah, the puppy's fine, look. And the way they used their phone, it was like my phone became a magnifying glass underwater, or like I was looking through a fish tank or something. But it was like my phone was under like this magnifying glass that looked like water. And they showed me the puppy, and the puppy had a fat little belly because he'd been eating a lot of food, and he was having like one of those cute little puppy sleeps. And he was like, my son was like patting him in that, and he was completely fine. He was like maybe about 3, 4 months old, no more than 6 months old. He was brown and white and black, splodgy kind of. He was just so adorable, just like, you know, big enough to hold in your hand. He was so cute, but he wasn't. He wasn't big. He was big enough to fit in my handbag, big enough to fit in my bag that I was using to carry all my stuff in. Now, when I was in this bar, someone asked me what I wanted to drink, and I said, "Can I have a gin and soda water with a twist of lemon?" And because that's what I drink. And I went to pay for it, and I couldn't find the bag. The bag was gone. And then Hillary Clinton was there. She was saying, "Is that not your bag under the counter?" And I went to have a look, and I said, "No, that's not my bag." They would, her and Keir Starmer, and they were trying to say to me, "Oh, there's your bag over there," like trying to trick me into thinking that was my bag, but it wasn't my bag. Like I knew it wasn't my bag. And so I just said, "Look, don't worry about it. I'm just going to watch the girls sing on karaoke." And they were singing something like, they were only little girls, like maybe 10, maybe 12 years old. And they were singing, "We Are Family." You know, "We are family." Which is really weird because one of my favourite movies in the whole world is The Birdcage, you know, with Gene Hackman and Robin Williams. I could watch that every week and not be bored of it. I love that movie. Nathan Lane made that entire movie. The two kids in it were assholes. I think that son, oh my God, what a brat. Anyway, Nathan Lane made that movie. He should have won an Oscar for that movie. He made that movie. I adore Nathan Lane. I adore him. But this is poignant because after I said, "Look, I can't find my purse. I can't pay for my drink," this gay man, he was black, and he said, "I'll pay for it. Don't worry about it, girl." And I was like, "No, no, no, it's okay. I'm going to head back." And he said, "Just at least have one drink." He said, "Have one drink with me and then I'll walk back with you because I'm going that way too." And I was like, "Okay." So we had this drink and then we left the bar. And it's so weird because when we were walking down the alleyway heading back to where I was going and where he was going, and I felt really, really safe with this guy, like I knew he had my back. I knew that he wasn't like going to try and rob me, or even though he was a complete stranger, he was walking me down this alleyway, and then Donald Trump came walking out of the side alleyway dressed in drag. But it was obviously him, and then I woke up. So let me tell you what all of this means, because after what I just posted on X, it means everything. So me being up in the bank is obviously when you have dreams of being up high, high-rise buildings, aeroplanes on top of mountains, whatever. It is ambition. It's showing you the path you're going on. And I'm on a rising path because I was up. I'm on a rising path towards justice and getting my money, because the bank wanted to make sure that I knew that the money was there and that it was all good and it was finally over and I could do everything that I had planned to do, including buying the property that I had my eye on, wherever that is. I mean, I've looked at a few properties depending on which country I was going to, but it also represents God as well. God is the bank. God saying it's coming. You're about to have everything you wanted, It's coming. Just hang in there. So, the woman who escorted me down to the little girl that ended up being me, it's basically like she could have been an ancestor, she could have been anybody, but it's basically saying that I've got people watching over me, that there are people that they've got my back, whether it's in the ethereal world, the heavenly realms, or in the legal world. There's people that are watching over me, because these people were always standing slightly behind me. So it means that I've got people watching over me. I'm protected. That I have invisible forces, whether real or not, etheric or not, that are watching over me to make sure that my plan doesn't get derailed or sabotaged again, that I don't come into any danger or get tricked, or because remember they were trying to trick me into thinking this bag, that bag. So when I got down to the little girl, and then I realised the little girl was me, and she was holding that fat little Asian baby. The baby was so cute, I'm telling you. But this baby was draining this little girl, this little fat Asian baby. And I know what it means. I understand it. I'm not going to make it public or anything like that. But basically, I'm being told to let it go. Let the fat little Asian baby go. The fat meaning not like an energy vampire, but someone or something that takes your energy, feeds off your energy, but drains you. Like an energy vampire, but someone who takes more than they give, or something that takes from you more than it gives you. And me being told, drop it, just let it go. Because the little girl was dropping all the papers and stuff. It was basically meaning, because I was at the top of the building and then I had to come down to her, it basically means that this person or situation brings me down and is holding me back. And I can't move forward to my destination while I'm holding on to this situation, and to just let it go, which I did. Because I was a little girl and I was lost. I mean, I completely feel directionless at the moment. So it's partially to do with that, because I have no idea where I'm going once I get out of here. I can't go to Switzerland because they've completely turned into something I don't recognise. Unless, well, see, this is the thing. X could be lying about some of the stuff that's coming up. That could, because like I was getting ready, I was all hell bent on going to Switzerland, and then stuff started popping up about bringing in 15-minute cities, and forcing this and forcing that, and going complete new world order. And so I was like, well, then Switzerland's out. Like I couldn't possibly go there now. One of the big power people has just been caught trafficking kids as well. And with the World Economic Forum being there and Davos being there, and Davos, I know it's Davos, but I call it Davos because it's funny, being there and that, like it's like, well, I can't. If Switzerland has people in power trafficking kids for Davos and the World Economic Forum and that there, I couldn't possibly build my school there now, because I'm wanting to take children that we save from traffickers to take there. But I don't know if any of this is true, because when news feeds drop on my X, they vanish quite fast. And sorry, they just tried to cut me off. Remember yesterday I said it's between 9 and about 10 past 9 they use the direct energy weapon to switch my phone off? They just did it. So, oh God, where was I? It's always a sign that it's always how you know they're listening. But it's always between 9 and 10 minutes past 9. they switch my phone off. They use a direct energy weapon that I was talking about yesterday that the British have to interrupt your technology. They can use it to switch off electric vehicles and stuff too. Your navigation systems in your car, they have specific direct energy weapons that are designed just to mess with your technology. So they've just proved me right. Because I said it's always between about 9 and 10 past 9, and that was 9 on the dot. God, they're idiots. Well, see, that'll be why Starmer was in the dream. But see, the different bags, I was saying about how X lies, and I'm wondering, I don't know whether it's true or not. Even my son had mentioned when they were going to Malta, he said, have you ever thought maybe they control what you're allowed to see on the internet? And this is my dream. When them saying, is this your bag? Is that your bag? Is this your bag? Trying to say that, oh, here's your bag here. And I'm like, no, that's not my bag. Yeah, no, that's your bag. No, it's not my bag. So Clinton, Starmer and Trump and Musk and all that doing could be trying to trick me into believing things that aren't real, to take me off my path. So if I really am destined to go to Switzerland, if my path really truly is Switzerland, then they're posting things to make it look like Switzerland isn't where I'm meant to go. And that is why I was in the dream when I was a little girl. I knew the city like the back of my hand. I knew exactly where I was. I knew exactly where I was going, but for some reason I couldn't find that little road that I needed to go down to get to where I was headed. And so we looked it up on Google Maps. And so, and then them pointing out the bag that was mine, that wasn't mine, they were all hiding under the counter of this bar. It could be because they're purposefully trying to sabotage the path I'm going on. Like, I thought I was going to Russia. They could have been posting things on social media to make it look like Vladimir Putin was saying and doing things that weren't real, like forcing everyone to do the facial recognition scanning thing. Was that true or not? I don't know, because nothing else has come up about it. So is it fake news? Are they faking stuff on purpose to stop me from going to Russia or Switzerland or America? Do you see what I mean? So that's the bags under the table. Now, me in the hotel, obviously hotels mean in between where you've been and where you're going. Hotels and motels always mean the in-between space. So I'm in between here and there. I'm in between leaving here and going to where I'm headed. But with my first husband being in the dream, whenever you dream of ex-husbands, exes, it means needing to look at the past in order to resolve it. And he was helping me hide this puppy. Now, dogs in dreams, obviously each breed of dog means something different, but in this case it was a puppy. And puppies and dogs in dreams always mean your friends or your friendship circle. The people who are loyal to you. And this was a puppy, which means it's a new relationship. It's a connection that's new to me, but they're loyal. And the fact that it was black, white and brown, and it knew to just lay low and let me do what I had to do, but taking it home to my kids and that, I'm wondering whether it's not Iran. That Iran is symbolic of the little puppy. Now, the reason why I say this is because it's just come out about Project Odin, and you know how they're threatening to cut the underwire internet cables. Apparently, it's to stop Starmer and Musk and Trump and all that from trying to pull off the Odin project, which means gives them the complete authority to override the media, the internet. So you know how I was saying about this fake news coming up that is putting me off going to Switzerland or Russia, or like making me lose respect for people like Vladimir Putin and all of that. It's because the Odin Project would allow Musk and Starlink to shut the media down, to override the media, to interrupt broadcasting, to control what is put out over the internet via media, social media, all of it. So so they can just bombard you with propaganda and feed you the mind control stuff through the AI, Grok and all that. And Iran are going to cut the cables so that it can't happen. Because once again, they're sacrificing themselves, and then what does Starmer do? Sends little HMS Dragon, and you know all about what I've been saying last year about the HMS Dragon. God warned Starmer what was going to happen if he sent the Dragon on the water. So, and then it reminded me of the very first jump that I recorded where you can see my face. It's all there. I'll put the link to it so you can see it all. I got woken up by the crows making a hell of a racket outside my ex's dungeon of doom. And when I went to the living room when everyone was asleep, I recorded myself, and you can actually see what happens to my face in that when I jump, when I'm in the creation frequency. And I'm interpreting what the crows are telling me. And what the crows were saying was that Odin, that the bad guys, I think they said there were 4 or 5 people in New York, the bad guys, had hidden something underground. They'd hidden something under, and Odin was digging it back up because he didn't want to be a part of it. He was saying, like, not in my name, like, you're not doing this in my name, and in fact I'm going to turn it around on you, and people are going to come after you as a result. So when I saw the thing about the Odin Project, I thought that's what that message was from back in 2020, I think it was. So remember how my first husband was in the dream in the hotel going back to the past to resolve something. So by me going back to the past, where I was still with my ex before he tried to do what he did, I have that video where Odin said, I saw what you buried, I saw what you're trying to do with what you're hiding under the surface, and I'm digging it back up because I don't want a part of this. I don't want a part of it. And then, you know, the statue that Donald Trump has, this gold statue, you know, the statue of Baal. And remember when I said, when I wrote the Amber Rose, I said the Slime Queen would get turned into a statue, and then the dwarves would come and chip it away and turn the gravel in that into a road. Everything's happening. Everything's starting to align. So this dream of me being in the hotel and trying to sneak the puppy out, it's me secretly helping my new friend Iran. Because I'm of Iranian descent, which is why in the dream I took them to my sons, because my sons are Persian as well. They're my sons. Of course they're going to be Persian. So it was symbolic of me helping my people do something covertly that's hidden for their protection, but also to help them, because when the magnifying glass was put on the puppy and it looked like it was underwater or through a fish tank, it's basically magnifying to the puppy, I'm watching you, like I've got your back. God's got your back. I even said Zeus, Odin, Neptune and Poseidon are on Iran's side. I was like, even Zeus, Neptune, Poseidon and Odin are on Iran's side. And I was like, just do what you got to do. So because they've gone very quiet on my ex, because you know Musk controls everything. Iran have gone very quiet. There's a lot of stuff being posted about the Lego and how Musk has a broken penis and how he's really his mum, which is this whole, you know, walking through the alleyway with Donald Trump being dressed in drag. When you dream of people who are like men dressed as women or women dressed as men, either it means they're hiding their sexuality, they're hiding that they're trans, or that they even have like a cross dressing fetish. That's my ex. Chris doesn't want to dress as a woman, but he gets aroused when he wears women's things. So that's a fetish. But then there are people who are secretly trans, like Keir Starmer. They like to dress as women. I'm not making any of this up. I have the evidence. Chris did a drawing of himself in a woman's thong. I was his wife. One of the first things he did when we got to Australia, when we met up in Australia, was he put one of my thigh-high not fishnet, God, I'd never wear fishnet, thigh-high stockings on. It had like a lace top, and pleasured himself in it. So I know my ex-husband, so with him it's a fetish. But then there's people like Keir Starmer who are closet trans. And then there are people who are just outright drag queens and that, loud and proud, as it should be. I don't know why they feel the need to hide it. You're how God made you. But I mean, the fetish thing's a bit weird. But Donald Trump was dressed as a woman, and I've always said that he had that in him. But in this case, it's all to do with what you see and what you get are two totally different things. That what he's presenting on the outside is not the same as who he is on the inside, that there's deception there, which we all know. But he was in an alleyway, like he was in drag as a prostitute. The way he was dressed in there, it was like he was a hooker, which means selling his soul to give the appearance of being something that he's not, and doing it behind closed doors. He's been selling his soul behind closed doors. And the gay man that was with me was letting me know that even though you're around these people, we're family. You know, the girls singing, "We Are Family." I think, even in the dream, I think I knew the girls were victims of, you know, Epstein and all that. One of them was she looked like she was half Hispanic, half African American, and the other one was white. And I was determined to watch over these girls because of who was in the bar. And they were trying to trick me into thinking that this bag was mine. And because I was honest, I wouldn't take the drink. Because I wasn't going to do that thing where, oh no, I forgot I didn't have any money, let me have it for free. I'm not that kind of person. I'm too honest. So I just said, no, don't give me the drink. And then this man was like, no, it's all right, I'll pay for it. Like, have a drink and then I'll walk you home because I'm leaving too and I'm going in your direction, blah, blah, blah. So me being honest, and taking the drink, because gin is I love gin and vodka. It's gin is in dreams, and because it had lemon in it, it's a palate cleanser. It cleans your palate. Usually you drink gin with tonic, which has quinine in it, and it's like an antibiotic. But it's like, if you say a swear, eat a pear, how a pear, the fruit, the pear, is a palate cleanser as well. It purifies your tongue. It makes your mouth honest. So in the dream where I was drinking gin, it's like me having a sip of something that, like truth serum. There you go. That's it. I was having a sip of truth serum and being encouraged to do it because I had this man beside me who was gay saying to me, it's okay. It's okay to speak your truth. It's okay to be honest. You've got people with you who are watching over you to make sure that you're safe. Now, I don't know why it was important to bring up in this dream why they were showing me that he was gay, but he could very well be a straight man. He could very well be a man of the law, a man of the military, a man of the government. He had enough power that nobody in that bar who would be considered underwater snakes or sharks or whatever came near me. It's like they knew from the woman who followed me out of the bank through to the man who bought me the gin. They knew they couldn't touch me, that the law, a higher law, was protecting me, because it's almost like they were kept away from like some invisible force field. They couldn't come physically close to me. There was always like a barrier around Clinton and Starmer and all that couldn't allow them to come near me or those girls. So I'm wondering whether I've got people like in the Secret Service and the military and the government or whatever who have got my back. And the reason why he came across as being gay, even though he might be 100% hetero, means it's a masculine man who is showing sympathy and empathy and support for me, because he knows the importance of what it is that I'm doing for the girls in that. And we are family. They were singing that song. Could be that Iran's got my back, or someone working for Iran, or someone who understands that these people going to war with Iran is because they're trying to cover up the Epstein files, trying to cover up the whole, because however way you want to look at it, this war in Iran is going to go down as, in history, as the Epstein War. Everyone on the planet calls it the Epstein War. And whoever takes Trump's side, oh, we're sending HMS Dragon to the Strait of Hormuz with France, now you know who's in the Epstein files and who's trying to stop the Epstein files from coming out. Starmer's only doing it because he lost all these seats in the election, and you can't have an election when there's a war on. So now, and because I've been saying him and France are pretending like they're not in this war, but I'm telling you they're in this war. Well, yeah, now they're in this war. So they've exposed themselves. They've been exposed, which is the magnifying glass on the dog, where it looked like it was underwater. Everything I said that they were doing behind closed doors, i.e. why Trump was coming out of the alleyway dressed as a woman and everything, it was all fake. We're not getting involved, said France and England. And I'm like, yeah, no, they're getting involved. They're doing things behind closed doors. They're just waiting. Starmer was just waiting for the results of these elections to see what would happen. And then as soon as he started losing everything and they're calling for his resignation, hundreds of MPs and that and chancellors, is it, are signed a letter to him to say, you got to go. He immediately sends, oh, we're sending a ship to Iran. And I was like, see, I told you they were secret. He's been preparing for it for the longest time. Since February of last year, I think I figured out when I did my investigation. So again, magnifying glass under the water, my ex-husband, bringing things back from the past that need to be resolved. So they were always planning on getting Britain and France involved with what was happening with Iran. And because now Iran's threatening to cut the internet cables, that's going to stop them from manipulating the media and the internet and social media so they can feed you lies, at the same time as bringing in this fake pandemic that literally is called the fake virus. Hunter virus means the fake virus. so they can scare people into getting more vaccinations that have that nanotechnology in it. Then they can override the internet and tell you what to think and feel so that you'll start thinking that Trump is a god, i.e. the gold statue. And that Musk is helping space aliens. And that's why he wants to build all that data center in the sky so that he can control, like it's mass surveillance and mass mind control. They want to have everyone being zombies. And so while we're at it, at the same time, let's drop the UFO files, and nobody's buying it. In fact, people are using it against them, turning it into memes. And now there's this secret footage that someone very bravely took of Elon Musk and Donald Trump walking with these military men dressed as an alien that looks like he's in handcuffs or something, and it's like they're giving him instructions, but it's someone's hidden the camera and it's all been exposed. And that's when I realised that's what Odin was talking about. Odin's like, you're not putting the shit on me. And he's pulling it all up, lifting it all up and saying, look. So I was like, oh, that's what that dream was. And then my snakes in America, when I was going up the bridge and I was showing my cousin how to avoid the snakes under the water. Snakes underwater can also mean like cables. And they were trying to bite, so trying to poison your mind. So all my dreams, and because then in that Snakes in America dream, when I got to the corner store, remember the voice of God said, it's all right. We saw what they're planning. We've called in the appropriate authorities. So they're not going to get away with any of it. And I think Iran's my new friend. I think that's the puppy. They're the only people that have come into, the only equation that have come into it that's new for me. Because I've been like, leaving them little messages on X and giving them support and letting them know that they've got God on their side, and Allah and Satan and Odin and all of them who are trying to turn Donald Trump into a false idol, i.e. dressed in drag. I'm trying to think if there's anything. So the little fat, that gorgeous little cute fat Asian kid, I think he or she was Korean, or didn't look Chinese, looked more like Korean or, around that way. I'm being told I need to let it go. It's holding me back. If it can't walk with me, I have to leave it behind. This idea, the connection, whatever it is, I've got to move on from it, because if it's not equal to my path, meaning if it's not going to walk alongside me, it has to be left behind. Sip. But I'm also wondering, because Clinton and Starmer and Trump and Musk and that were trying to point out that these bags were mine. I'm wondering whether they weren't trying to manipulate some of the stuff on my ex to turn me away from Russia or Switzerland or wherever. But we'll soon find out, because wherever it is I'm meant to go, it's going to be highlighted to me. But I am wondering whether I was led to believe through things posted on X, because now that we know that Elon Musk has a ton of fake alternate accounts, that people are absolutely ripping shit over him for. He's humiliated himself so much now, like you can't even put it into words. You can only point and laugh. Um, whether he's not led me to believe that Vladdy or Switzerland or wherever weren't who I thought they were, because none of that stuff about Vladimir made sense anyway, because it would have meant that I was completely wrong about him, and I'm not wrong about anybody. But anyway, the truth is going to come out. Wherever it is I'm meant to go, it's about to be highlighted to me. It's about to be shown to me where my true path is. I knew where I was going in my dream. I knew exactly where I was going, but I was being confused by things that were getting in my way. Or, because like I even in the dream, I remember looking at the building and that going, no, I know exactly where I am. I'm here all the time. I know exactly where I am. So why can't I find the street I'm meant to go down to get home, to get to where I'm supposed to go? And it's because people were pointing out that the bag that wasn't mine was mine, and it was confusing me and holding me back. And the fat little Asian kid, and he was so cute. He or she, I don't know if it was a boy or a girl, but it was the cutest thing you've ever seen. But it was lazy and didn't want to walk. So this little 5-year-old version of me, which means because I was a little girl, it means A, the Asian toddler sees me as being young and impressionable and helpless, which I'm not. I was literally carrying like a pile of contracts and business papers under my arm that I kept dropping because I was having to hold this kid. And B, it's signifying the fact that I'm on a new journey, that I've been reborn, that I've gone through a death process and a rebirth. So this is me starting out again, starting all over again, starting life all over again. So, yeah, so that's what that all means. And the song We Are Family can be either because it's to do with Iran, and they are, I mean, I'm literally from Iranian descent, but it could also mean the Epstein victims, the Trump victims, the Musk victims, the Clinton victims, the Epstein victims coming together to form a family. And the fact they were singing it on a microphone on a karaoke where the street could hear, coming together to stand as one, to sing that they're coming together, that they're banding together, and that they're going to be singing to the world their story, and that they're all there to support each other as a family. And I was standing there watching over them, making sure that they sung their song without interruption. And because Iran are helping the Epstein victims, and everybody knows that this is a war to stop the files from coming out, this is all to do with my fight against the people involved in the Epstein war, and how for me it started with Hillary Clinton, which is why she was in the dream. Because it was when I was starting to expose her and Frazzled Rip and everyone in Hollywood that the Secret Service and that started coming after me, thinking I wouldn't know. So that's what it all means. Pretty interesting dream. And then because I wake up and I saw everything on X, and it was like, oh my God. So that's what the dream was about. Dreams, plural. Because I'm pretty sure it was 3 dreams. It's very rare to have a dream, wake up, and then jump back into the dream. But I'm pretty sure the dream of me in a bar was the third dream. And being in a bar meaning speaking my truth in public, speaking out loud, saying it out loud, because pubs are, very public places, and I specifically ordered a gin. So my truth serum, speaking my truth in public in regards to the people at war with the Epstein class and the victims of the Epstein class, who were all my personal enemy sitting in that bar. Trump, Musk, Starmer, Clinton. But being told from when I went to the bank until I walked out of that bar to go down the alleyway, we've got your back. You're being watched, you're being watched over. You're 100% safe because you're 100% in the right. So, Keir Starmer, Macron, Trump, all of them that are, quote unquote, oh, we're going to, help open the Strait of Hormuz. It's not. They're all people that are going to go down in history as the people on the side of the pedophiles. This war is only ever going to be called in the history books the Epstein War. How humiliating for the king to know that his prime minister and his military are on the side of the pedophiles, because Starmer's on the list. He's literally in the emails discussing trafficking kids to Epstein in these emails. And now he's brought Gordon Brown in, who's also on the list. I'm so embarrassed for the king, I can't even put it into words. And these are people who are trying to use that fake virus in order to take the king down so that they can take control over the Commonwealth as well. And the thing is, I'm not even making any of this up anymore. It's literally been exposed. Musk literally said that's what the prophecy was, that's what the plan was. Israel, Mossad, Palantir, they've all come out and said it. And the only reason why I think now, with this undeniable evidence that everything I said and everything I recorded and everything I posted is true, the only thing I can think is that they got to the king. They got in his head. That they used the DEW or something on it. The Meta glasses, the Google Watch, I don't know. That's the only thing I can think, is that they got into his head. Because I know him, because he is me. He's a Scorpio rat. And Scorpio rats pay attention to detail. We're very finicky when it comes to attention to detail. Facts matter. Very fastidious when it comes to facts and attention to detail. I keep saying it. Everything under a microscope. Our best professions are as things like private investigators, judges, defence lawyers, forensic scientists, homicide detectives, because we are famous for our attention to detail. We don't miss anything. And the fact that he's just like gliding over what his Prime Minister and his Parliament and that are doing says to me they got into his head, which would have started when they started dragging him into the World Economic Forum in the 70s, Epstein and all that in the, 70s and 80s. And it was all done on purpose. And then, of course, some of Epstein's victims said he used to shapeshift in front of their eyes. I think Virginia even said it, where he turned into a shape-shifting alien. And so that, oh my God, there's shape-shifting aliens on the planet. No, there's not. It's all in your head, literally. It's all planted in your head. And by me speaking my truth, the way that I talk, the evidence I'm presenting, the way I use my voice in a certain tone, but I use facts and truth, i.e. me drinking the gin and soda water with the squeeze of lemon. By me speaking my truth the way that I am, It's to demagnetize. It's to wake everyone up and demagnetize them where it's not going to be painful, because if you're painfully thrown out of a demagnetization process, it can make you feel like you're losing your mind. And it's very physically painful. But the way I do it is very subtle. It subtly wakes you up. You'll have like a shock, like eureka sort of feeling, like the Big Bang. It goes off in your head like that. Boom. Oh my God. She's telling the truth. Oh my God. They really did have me under mind control through my technology. Oh my God. You know, that when that, as soon as that realization hits, holy crap, she was telling the truth. That's what I need from the king. And then I know I've snapped him out of it, which is why I keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and God and the Queen keep saying, don't give up on him. Don't give up on him. Keep pushing, because you're going to wake him up. You've got to wake him up. Because his Prime Minister and military are going to war against people who are trying to protect victims of the Epstein list. He's going to be the king who is forever known as the king who who fought the Epstein war, but on the side of the pedophiles. And the Queen's not having that, because these were the same pedophiles that are the reason why she's dead. She said to me, in those codes, I should have made 100. I should have gotten to 100. And they took it from her because they wanted to hurry up and speed this whole taking over the world thing. But they acted so fast, they've made so many mistakes, I've been able to catch them and expose them. That's what the twist of lemon, leaves a sour taste in the mouth of the people that I'm speaking the truth about. So, one thing you shouldn't do is trust the internet to tell you what your dreams mean, because they're never going to get it right. But when I get my radio station. So basically those 3 dreams was God and my protection, letting me know that I'm on the right path. I know exactly where I'm going, that justice is coming, that I have protection, that there are people either living or in the ethers, or even, in the heavens, who are making sure that they can't touch me, that I'm safe, because this is for the victims. Because Iran and I and whoever this gay man was and whoever the woman was at the bank, they know that this is about protecting the children and keeping the children safe. There's a higher purpose, and it's bringing me justice. The bank was so excited to get me down there to show me that I had these hundreds of millions in the bank. Look, what are you going to do with it? Have some champagne. I was like, ugh, no. I was like, no thanks. I don't like champagne. I can't stand the taste of it. Ugh. I don't get it. It's one of those things like, why do people like champagne? Ugh. Give me a gin or a vodka. Anyway, so interesting dreams, eh? So I'll put links in the description box. I'll just put one link in. You'll just have to scroll down, but it is all connected, including the dream where I had about Saturn, Neptune and Mars coming together, the trine. And I said it's going to give people things like syphilis and drive them insane, because they're coming to get justice, and now people are saying that Donald Trump's got syphilis. And he's clearly going insane. It's soul extraction. Their souls are being extracted. And with Donald Trump, you can't even deny it anymore. His fingers are going black. So I was right about everything. And everything I documented, including the stuff that my ex tried to say was because I was nuts. It's just because I'm Indigenous. And natural telepathy is the ability to be able to communicate with nature. All Indigenous people do it. he sat there, the man who gave him 2 children, who worked her fingers to the bone to pay his bills and that every time he lost his job so that he could go on more job interviews, who sacrificed everything to cook and clean for him, who turned his back on me when he realised I was creating stuff that he wasn't smart enough to create, and turned my own children against their own ancestors. He tried to make all of that look like a mental illness, when in actual fact, it's just him being racist. I had no idea I'd married a white supremacist. That was the realisation that I had in between, should I record the dream at 1 o'clock this morning or not. Coming to the realisation that my ex-husband, the father of my children, is a racist. He's a white supremacist. His father told me the day he met Thomas, Thomas is not a Callaghan. He's a black and he's only a black. He is not a Māori. He is not whatever you are. He is a black, not a Callaghan. I had no idea that Chris was a racist. I had my suspicions, I'd said before, because he didn't like Asian people, like Indians and Asians and that, and he's exceptionally judgmental. He will put down anyone. He's the sort of person that will sit in a cafe, and if someone who's obese walks in, he's got to say something about it. He can't keep his mouth shut. He has to criticise. But what I realised was everything that he accused me of being a mental illness was him turning against me being Middle Eastern and Indigenous. And then him getting my boys to turn on me in the same way. The things that they were having a go at me for, the stuff that you did in front of us when we were kids, it didn't make any sense, and it's just because you're effing crazy and blah blah blah. They were putting down my bloodline. They were criticising my parents. Do you know how hard that is, to sit and watch your children put down their own grandparents because they're Persian and because they're black? And if you know how white I am, you should see how brown my parents are. They both had black hair. Mum had brown eyes, Dad had green eyes. Both very, very dark skinned. I've got cousins, actual first cousins, who are like Kevin Hart colour. Actual first cousins. And I had to sit and watch my kids and their father accuse my parents of creating someone who's mentally ill because they're Māori and Persian. And then the NHS did the exact same thing because I wore feathers in my hair. Now, if all of these people went to New Zealand, and Tracy Swallow, the community care nurse, she defended me because she's been to New Zealand, and she was like, they do put feathers in their hair. That's what they're like there. When I go home, if I was to walk around in bare feet with feathers in my hair talking to the birds and trees, nobody would batter an eyelid. They'd probably join me. Oh, what god are you talking to today, bub? Is that Atua? Who are you? What god are you? Is that Mau? Is that... Come on, let's go and talk to the birds together, girl. Let's go and make an offering, eh? Oh, look, bub, they left a feather on the ground for you. You must have really made the gods happy today. Put it in your hair, bub. Put it by the fireplace. Go and put it by your front door. That's the real honour, that is. That. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. That's my culture. But here, it's a mental illness. And my baby daddy instigated a racial attack against me and my ancestors, who have been helping Iran defend children against pedophiles. that they all classed as a mental illness because they're racist. And that's when I had to realise, oh my God, he really is a racist. He only liked the part of me that was Irish and Scottish. He hated the part of me that was Persian and Māori, because we have a deeper connection to the universe that him as a pagan, him as a devil worshipper, would never have access to. He walked around with all the Church of Leviathan stuff on, and the snake rings, and the snakes wrapped around his boots, and the ravens and the crows and the bats upside down on his wall, and his ceremonial daggers, and his Thor hammer rings, and his skull rings, and his Maltese cross, and all that, all that sort of stuff. Everything but the Nazi symbol. He walked around with all of that stuff adorning his body and dressing his house up with it, and worshipping Odin and that. But he hated the fact that I didn't have to do anything, because it just came to me naturally. He had to have the books and stuff, whereas I just got the downloads, because I'm Indigenous and Persian. And that's what they used against me. And having my own children sit there and deny their grandparents and their great-grandparents, and they've got grandparents and great-grandparents who are some of the most respected chieftains in all First Nations culture. Te Rauparaha, he's one of mine. He's one of the most respected Indigenous chieftains in world history. The Māori Battalion, the most feared battalion in history. They had uncles fight in the Māori Battalion. The Germans were terrified of us. I've got people in my Persian bloodline who helped build Mecca and make Mecca what it is today, who, instead of going to war with the Saudis, chose to walk away from the throne in order to protect Egypt and Iran and Iraq from being invaded by the Saudis when they got accused of committing a murder that was a lie. They've got Persian ancestors who are so respected, they've got hospitals and schools and airports named after them, libraries, but it was turned into racial profiling in order to try and shut me up and shut me down. This is the part of the dream where I'm drinking the gin, speaking my truth, in order to stop me from exposing them as being pedophiles, sexual predators, and human traffickers. It's why the police didn't investigate, because they were helping. If you're in the UK, you're going to know all about the Bradford grooming gangs and Labour shutting everything down and the police shutting everything down. It involves all the same police departments and all the same MPs and all of that. Well, that's what I'm a part of. Jess Phillips, when I went to her for help, she's supposed to be, for women's affairs and blah, blah, blah. It's because they were all helping them. They were all in on it, which is why Starmer was in the dream at the bar. And the horrible thing is, they want everybody blaming Muslims here in the UK. They want everyone blaming the Jews. They're Jewish, and yet they're throwing their own people under the bus. They converted to Judaism. Well, I know Trump and Starmer are Jews. So they're sacrificing their own. Because they secretly hate the Arabs. It's a secret war against a hatred of Arabs. That's why they pulled off the whole 9/11 thing. To blame the Arabs, to set everything up so that when they were ready to go to war, people would hate the Arabs, but it didn't turn out that way because they picked on Iran. And no country is perfect, but the one thing that Iran has been defending from day one are the victims of the Epstein files, are the victims in the Epstein files, the victims of Epstein and that cult. And the whole world hates pedophiles, so the whole world, other than the Magogs, the Magagogs, are on Iran's side. So France, Macron, Great Britain, Starmer and Trump are in for and Musk are in for a hell of an ass kicking, because even the gods of the oceans, Poseidon and Neptune, even they're not on their side. And Odin is, he's the one, he's the god that you get under the surface. And Hades is one down from Odin, and then you get Satan. Hades is the one where you start getting the fire and brimstone before you're thrown right into hell with Satan. Odin is one above, and his crows tell him everything, and his wolves tell him everything. Trixie. Trixie's related. I love Trixie so much. So, you know Miss Jodine? Well, she's cousins with Ruby Corazon, right? Hades is Ruby's dad. Odin is Miss Jodine's in my mythology of stories. So I'll put a link in the description box below. But yeah, my ex-husband's a white supremacist. He's racist. He's short of flying a Nazi flag kind of racist. And my worst fear of my boys being like their father came true. But I love them, and I know that it's not their fault, because they weren't like this before I got locked up. They were my best friends. They were my allies. They took a crowbar and a knife to their father to protect their mother. That's the boys. That's my boys. They defended women. They opened doors for me. They opened, pulled out chairs. I used to get complimented everywhere I went about how well behaved my children were. They loved me to the death. Thomas said to me over and over again, I was fully prepared to go to prison that night if he had touched you. 2, you're effing bananas. So I just brushed it off, because I know it's not them, because that's not my boys. That's not the boys I raised. That's the boys a racist is raising. That's the boys a bigot and a racist and a narcissist is raising. And even when I get justice from all of this, if they still hate me and don't want to be with me, they will still get a cut of the compensation money, and I will pay for them to stay in their own place, or they can go and spend some time in New Zealand with their auntie and get to see who their mother really is. Because my boys used to talk to the animals too. Thomas was exceptionally good at it because he's an earth sign, he's a Capricorn. It used to be part of their culture, but when I got locked up, my influence was removed, so then it gave him the time to feed them the poison of, nobody, that's crazy to do that. Only crazy people talk to birds and trees, and, well, not in my country. We have our festivals and ceremonies around it. British people come to New Zealand to see my people do what the NHS called was mental illness. People come from all over the world to see my people do what Chris got me locked up for. And until I started whistleblowing on what he was doing and who he was doing it with, he didn't have a problem with what I was doing. He used to brag about how he was going to be able to retire on my barbecue sauce and my movies and my books and my stories, and because the deal was I was going to retire him and give him the money to do whatever he wanted to do, just go off and see the world and paint and draw on that. And if he wanted to put his paintings in my art gallery, I'd exhibit them for him as my way of saying thank you for looking after me while I got to where I was going, building my empire up. That was the deal, or so I thought. I was still prepared to forgive him for all the years of abuse, because that's what you do with a narcissist. You butter them up. You have to feed their ego. And I was prepared to do that just to get away from him. Just to get away from him and get my boys away. Give him what he needs to feed his ego and help his mental health, to get away from him. Little realising that he had no intention of doing any of it. He said to me, promise me when you start your games company, don't employ anyone without me vetting them first. And I was like, that's perfect. I said, I'd pay you to do that if you could consult who I have as my art director, and because he was originally going to be art director of the company, of my games company, but then he said he didn't want to be in games anymore. He was sick of being in games. That if he couldn't have his own company, he wanted to just be on his bike in his camper van and travel the world and paint in that. And I was like, perfect. I said, you can vet everyone and tell me whether I should give them an interview or not. And I'll pay you for it. And that was the deal. Little realising that he had no intention of doing any of it, he said to my boys, do you really think that I was going to let her take you to an ex-con in America? I had people in America helping me make sure that you never got to America. And then my kids sat here and blamed me for the reason why we weren't in America. Even though they knew what their father had told them, they completely disregarded it and dropped the case against him. He didn't realise that sexually abusing you was wrong. That's not my boys. My boys were, you're a freedom fighter, Mum. Don't stop. We believe in you. You keep fighting. I said to them, should I give up fighting for justice and just work on the empire myself and look for investors, or keep fighting for justice? They said, don't you dare stop fighting for justice. He needs to be held accountable. 2, drop the case, Mum. He didn't know it was sexual abuse. He didn't know it was wrong. That's how I know he got in their head. Because that's not my babies. My babies don't talk like that. My babies are logical, and they use truth and facts and reason and all of that because of how I raised them. And then after, it was last year, I started seeing the changes in them. When I wasn't even getting messages on Christmas Day to say Merry Christmas. I wasn't getting messages on my birthday, Happy Birthday. I got Pedro last year, my capybara, for Mother's Day, and then it'll be a year next month since I've seen my boys. And then turns out he never even had legal custody of them. I got no proof that I wasn't allowed to have custody of my kids when I got out. And he said to my boys, she doesn't have custody of you, but she doesn't have to pay child support because she's just not allowed to contribute to anything that you're doing. She doesn't, it's not that she doesn't have custody, but she's not allowed to contribute to anything financially, which, if he had legal custody of my boys, I would have had to have paid him child support. And that's one of the reasons why he did what he did, because I was getting ready to leave and he didn't want to pay child support because he was keeping 2 households. It was the police officer that told me. It's actually on camera. She said it right in front of Thomas Gabriel and I. Did you not know Chris had another family? And I said, well, I looked at the boys and I was like, well, I do now. And I was like, so that's why he didn't want to pay child support because he wouldn't have been able to afford it if he was keeping house with us. But see, that I found out later, the second family he had were living in luxury, whereas the boys and I were having to wear dirty, filthy, ripped pajamas. My boys and I had to live in pajamas because we couldn't afford clothes. So when I did get scraps of money, the first thing I do is buy the boys clothes. And then when I had to sign up for Universal, they offered to lend me some money so that I could buy the boys clothes. Jess, she said, we can give you a loan if you want, so you can buy the boys clothes. And they loaned me 150 quid and I paid it back at, I can't remember, was it 50 quid a month or something? I paid it back off. But that was Jess. I was so grateful for what she did. I turned her into a Quantum Menace character. Jessica. Jessica, her name's Jessica, but I called her Jessica. She's one of the mutants. And I even sent her thing of her character to get her approval, and she gave me her approval and said, yes, you can put her into the comic book. Because he had wardrobes full of clothes, jewellery, boots, leather jackets, leather pants, all of that sort of stuff, while I was walking around in t-shirt and undies because he wouldn't let me buy pants or shoes. And my boys were wearing dirty, filthy pajamas. I got messages from my boys, Mum, have you ordered the pajamas yet? Because they're falling off me. And I'm like, yep, they're on the way. They'll be there within 2 days. Mum, have you sent those jumpers yet? I've got everything on my eBay where I sent them clothes and jumpers and pajamas, and it's all there saved. Because he only cared about himself. But then he made them look like I was the bad guy when I was the one going without food, literally. He made me choose. You can either have your gluten-free food, or I can take care, or I can look after the boys. It's either you or the boys. I said, of course, just feed the boys. Like, take care of the boys. So that's, yeah. They picked on the wrong person. Because everything they put me through made me more determined to stand in my truth, to get justice, and made me more determined to protect the children that they all worked to stop me from protecting. From way back in 2016, which is why Hillary Clinton was in that dream. I will keep fighting for my boys because I would die for my boys. I have almost died 7 times for my boys, to give them the life that they deserve. Everything that I built was to leave them a legacy that they could be proud of after I died. Because they're everything to me, and I'm not going to stop until I get justice. I'm not going to stop until I wake them up, and I'm not going to stop until I wake the king up, no matter what they threaten me with. Over my dead, immortal body, will I let my children grow up to be like their father? And one day I'm going to take them to New Zealand and they can see how beautiful the other side of their culture is, how beautiful the Māori culture is. Thomas used to be proud of being Māori. He even used it as one of his tag names on Discord. Even Persian, being proud to be Persian as well. So I just got to remind them who they are, and then maybe one day, God willing, I can take them to Iran, because I'd like to see where the Al Rashid, where Harun and all that came from. It was through him that I found out I was Jewish. So I'm a mongrel, but mongrels live longer. I'd love to visit Iran. I just don't know if it would be safe because of the whole Saudi jihad Al Rashid thing. But I would love to visit Iran, especially because of what we've been doing together to protect these children in the Epstein war. So I'm going to go and have my breakfast now. I talked a lot longer than I was expecting, but what can you do? It is what it is. I drank some gin in my dream. As far as I'm concerned, my sons are perfect. And every day I'll keep praying for them to see the truth of what we were put through and who put us through it and why. Every day I keep praying for them to wake up and come back to me. I miss them desperately. It's Mother's Day in New Zealand today, by the way. I miss Vladdy too. I really hope they were lying about him. I hope they were lying about Switzerland as well, because then I can go to Switzerland, but the truth will come out. The truth will be exposed. It'll all be exposed. I'll know where I'm going. I'll know what direction I'm meant to go in. It'll be made clear to me. But in the meantime, I'll keep dreaming a dream. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty-night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me while I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. I used to sing that to my boys when they were babies. I used to make them cry. They'd start crying, quivering lip. So Gabriel used to stick to me like glue. He was my shadow. Right up until the day they dragged me away. He stuck to me like glue. He'd come downstairs, hop on my bed, cuddle up with his mum. We'd have breakfast together waiting for Thomas to wake up. But Thomas was like my protector. He stood over me like my guardian. He made us both feel safe. He was fearless that night against his dad. He was fearless, and then because it encouraged Gabriel to act, it made Gabriel feel brave as well. And when I came downstairs and saw Gabriel with that crowbar squaring up against his dad, he moved his hand to push me because I was going to come in between Chris and Gabriel, and he moved his hand. When I came down from the stairs that Chris tried to say was barricaded, he moved his hand to push me behind him, and he held on with that crowbar with two hands, and Chris said to look down at Gabriel, and he goes, "Really, Gabriel?" And Gabriel went, "Yep." And he goes, "Fine. Effing, you're going to regret this, you effing be effing. You're going to regret the day you ever did this to me, effing. And then like 4 hours later, he rings 911, 999. She's barricaded the boys in and she's got this knife and they're trapped upstairs. And I was literally on the phone to 999 at the time. He was trying to say, I was at the house and she's barricaded. So he didn't even try to save his sons. That's what I said to the cops. So I was locked up in that attic, barricaded, he said, and you can't even shut that door. Their bedroom door doesn't shut. Barricaded, apparently. Threatening suicide with a knife in a distressed state in front of the boys. So he witnessed all of that. Didn't try to, even though he towers over me and I'm like a slip of a thing now. I'm half the size of I used to be. He could have flattened me. He didn't even try to save his sons from the lunatic with the knife barricaded in a door that couldn't shut. My boys could have taken me down. Because you have to remember, he drugged me that night, so I had cocaine in that in my system. I would not have been hard to take down. So then he waits 4 hours, I think it was, to ring the police and say, I was at the house and this is what I saw, without even trying to protect his kids. And people keep forgetting he called the cops on Thomas that night too, because Thomas is the one who had the knife. He called the cops on his own son. and fled the house to leave his sons in peril without trying to save them, but waited 4 hours to do it. And the police never went, hang on a minute. Listening to the 999 call she made at 4 o'clock in the morning, which I have, I have proof of. None of this that he said has made sense. And now that it's come out that he was in a relationship with someone called Katie and Santaro, so he was lying, and then that means that the police who wrote out the report was lying too. Hang on a minute, but no, they didn't. Because they were told, keep your mouth shut, because you're all Freemasons, you're all covering up the grooming gang inquiry, and that's what she's involved in. She's one of those lot that's trying to get us all put in jail. Oh, right, okay, so we won't test the weed to prove that the drugs were laced. I'm just so bloody grateful that as soon as I said, the second I realised what was going on, I said to that PC Violet, I want it on record now that I think Chris drugged me, and I want a blood test. And so as soon as we got to where I was locked up, they came and gave me a blood test. And then the very next day, the doctor came in and he said, do you do cocaine or take any kind of opioids? And I said, no. And I said, I knew it. That's what he put in the pizza. I said, because the pizza tasted funny. It tasted like chemicals. And it took me 7 days to get that chemical taste out of my mouth. That's when I knew. And I said, so that's what he put in my food then, cocaine and opioids. And when I went to my family about it, don't be stupid, Chris would never do that. Why would I make that stuff up? But the blood test is there. It proves it. And I'm so glad that I had the presence of mind to say, I want a blood test and I want it on record. I think he drugged me. Because now it ended up, I was right about everything. And they tried to drug me again. Last November, I think it was. End of November, beginning of December. They tried to do it again. Black cat mushrooms. The poison apple. And I have proof for that. I've got all the evidence ready to go. Before I go, the last thing I need to say, I got the book wrong. It wasn't Wishes Make Your Dreams Come True, where she helps him find the magic wand. It's You Have No Power Over Me. I just have to correct that. I've just got a lot going on at the moment because fighting this holy war, and my mind was all over the place. So, so now I'm going to go. I've had my gin, I spoke my truth, I put it out on my karaoke. The dream. I'm going to go and get some food. I'll speak to you later. Have a beautiful Sunday for all the people in New Zealand. Happy Mother's Day. Mwah.